Mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. A super thanks, CJ, asking how are you today, Tom? Thank you. This probably in light. We're filming this on our Monday live show, like we normally, or sorry, Tuesday live show because the Cowboys played on Monday Night Football. I feel fine this morning. I will be very tired tomorrow because it's always like the day after a long night ends up hitting me. So check in again on Wednesday, and you can watch the videos on Wednesday and see how tired I look. Now remember, every $5 super thanks gets you into our weekly raffles. To be determined what this raffle will end up being. Send in a $5 super thanks, though, if you want in to that raffle. Another $5 super thanks from William Cook says, I appreciated the draft video. Thank you, William. I know it's early, but having 2 first-rounders opens up a lot of options. I think more draft capital is necessary. It depends on how the board falls, but having those 2 first-round picks does allow you to trade down once or even twice. I am intrigued by the idea, if you can pull it off, of doing what the Rams did. Now, again, it requires a lot of different ifs and buts and hoops to jump through, but the Rams traded down in last year's draft and got an additional first-round pick next year. Maybe you don't want to get the additional first next year, but that Falcons pick the Rams have might be top 10. Which looks like an absolute steal for the Rams. It does open up a wide variety of options. You want to recoup some of those day 2 picks? You can trade down. You've got options. Completely agree there, William. CJ Baxter burner account. We can beat Philly next week. Offense looked great, but I think Schotty is still too conservative at times. We don't have that bread and butter 20 to 25-yard passing concept. Glad Schotty fed the hot hand, though, in Pickens. Dak's numbers at home against Philly, 6-1 over 300 yards per game, 71%, 12-5 TD interception ratio. Also awesome in postgame with Osa carrying off the jersey. Prayers for number 94. Agree with all that. Not that many teams have a true like bread and butter 20, 25-yard pass play. Some of the Cowboys' go-tos are the seam shot to Ferguson, which actually hit to Lamb in the game, which just right down the middle, and defense messed up. They will hit that backside did, but that's normally more like 15-ish yards downfield. They do like that throw quite a bit, mostly to Lamb, but to Pickens sometimes too. Tough match against Philadelphia. Not easy, but they're going to have to prove they're serious. They're going to have to win that game. The Marvy and the Martian. Are playoff hopes alive still? Like realistically? Kind of. But they're very much on life support. You are at the bottom of the in the hunt graphic. Now, I will say that the NY Times playoff sim does a nice job of like reflecting based on like the odds and everything. So the line had moved a little bit more or less in favor of the Eagles. It's down to 3.5 going into this week's game. So it's actually up to 10% chance. So I'm saying there's a chance. Now, if you lose against Philadelphia, you're down to about 4%, and that means you have to win out. You really can't afford any more losses. You beat the Eagles, you're hovering up there about 17% chance. So you kind of have to win this game to keep yourself alive. The biggest issue is you're going to lose tiebreakers. Well, actually, you're not going to lose tiebreakers because of the tie itself, but you're kind of playing that half game down because you lost to Carolina and because you lost to the Chicago Bears. So I gave you the 10% number from the NY Times playoff sim. What is the percent chance the Cowboys actually make the playoffs? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. From Roy Williams, is it possible to keep all 3 of Kenny Clark, Osa, and Quinnen Williams on the roster next year? It's an expensive room. It is an expensive room. I would question if the Cowboys want to do that. If they do, they're probably like actually looking into a extension for Quinnen and or Kenny Clark. They can if they want to. I would be a little bit surprised if they just rolled it out there with the $60 million over those 3 players. It's a lot of money for a defensive tackle, but it is possible if they want to. I will question if they're going to think that's the best plan of attack, but let's see how the rest of the year plays out. Because if they're all playing elite football, you just keep them and try to figure it out. William Cook, $5. A solid win last night. Quinnen is the real deal. I think this team has a chance against the Eagles. Chance, yes. I don't know how doable it's going to be, but they have a chance. It's not going to be easy. This is an Eagles team that you should have beaten week 1. You got a chance to do it this time around. All the Eagles do is kind of win ugly games. I won't be surprised if they win yet another ugly one. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. Weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen pass yards and rush yards and touchdowns? You can do it. Heck, maybe you want to go Drake May more than passing yards, rush yards, touchdowns against historically one of the worst defenses in football. That is one of our power play lineups here. Drake May more than passing yards. The Bengals defense is terrible. Caleb Williams more than rushing yards because he is a creator extraordinaire, and Rashee Rice more than a half touchdown against the Colts. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a partner, someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. The great Duke Bothers. Still no Jaydon Blue. Yep, was once again a healthy scratch. Clearly some frustration there with the coaching staff and Blue. We'll see how that gets fixed. He's a very young player, which maybe there's some immaturity issues there. The fumbling was obviously one of them. There was the reports of the frustration. Dane Brugler then came out later and said he had the biggest red flags in the draft, which kind of wish he would have put out there earlier. He's not trying to kill the kid. I get it. So we'll see about Jaydon Blue. Thankfully, Javante's been awesome. Otherwise, this would have been a much, much bigger problem. Not when we can just kind of right away. RJ McCowan. We need to get rid of Diggs and Murray and Steele. And Schotty has to run the ball on short yardage downs. Definitely when Javonte is running the ball. I thought they were pretty solid overall. Look, Javonte averaged 4.2 yards per carry. Wasn't crazy explosive, but overall was pretty solid. Hunter Lipke got one of the short yardage runs there. I think the biggest issue I had was they weren't great on third downs. They actually kind of struggled in that area. It says all of the short yardage stuff and everything else looks worse because of the final 3 drives. They went conservative. They went run pass early in the fourth quarter, up 31-16 after the Raiders had cut it from 31-9. And then they went 12 plays, 34 yards, 7 minutes and 43 seconds, which was just a hilarious drive, but ended on a drop pass on 4th and 1 after they couldn't convert it on 3rd and 2 with the run to Javonte. I don't think Steele was that bad, but he still might not be here next year. I don't think Diggs and Murray will be here. So that one, I think you're definitely going to get your wish. From Rock, what about signing Eddie Jackson? They aren't going to add Justin Simmons. I don't want to overreact to one game. I thought the safeties were fine. I thought Malik Hooker played pretty well in what kind of was a pitch count game. Marquise Bell had the right time, right place, tip drill, interception. That's cool for him. I don't even think Donovan Wilson was that big of a liability. The Raiders are bad. So again, let's not overreact to it. But Jackson, I think, tried out for the Steelers, I think it was. All these guys being unsigned in November makes it tricky. So name a player you want to sign. Any player in the open market, if there is one. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Brian Parson, can you imagine if Jerry had kept Micah and still pulled off the trade for Quinnen Williams? I know it wouldn't have happened, but it would be nasty. Be super cool. You could kind of make it work money-wise. I don't know what that would mean for other guys on your roster. Maybe they wouldn't have paid DaRon Bland immediately. But again, the money's not an issue, so they could have found a way to do it if they really wanted to. I don't know if they would have kept. I don't know if the extra draft capital got them enough reason to do it. They might have been a bit more stingy there. Real G, would the ideal situation be Bears tank, win out in the NFC East? Yeah, I think there's a bunch. You have to cheer against the Eagles. You have to cheer against some combination of the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, maybe even more so, which seems a bit unlikely, the Panthers, and the 49ers. Some of those schedules very much set up in favor of those other teams. That's why the playoff path is so challenging for Dallas. You had to beat Carolina. You really could have used that win over the Bears. It really put them in a pretty tough spot. From Tasmanian Devil, would you draft Jeremiyah Love in round 1? It depends on where you're drafting. This win, maybe you're definitely not going to be drafting top 5. I don't think, given your late season schedule, there's a pretty good chance you're not drafting top 10. Maybe you're not drafting 18 or 20 or something, but you're probably drafting no higher than what you did last year. I don't know if Jeremiyah Love's going to be there. It kind of becomes the Bijan conversation where, look, he's going to be the best player on the board, but you'll probably still have some very glaring needs on defense. Can you justify spending that first-round pick on a very fun player who is going to be a top 5 guy on my board probably? It's the risk-reward. Like, Gentry was awesome. He was everyone's top 5 player. Look how bad the Raiders are this year. Like, it's a luxury pick. It's a question of, do the Cowboys have the luxury to do it? Who is your dream Cowboys draft pick? It's the safety, because I just love safeties and I want one. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Anthony P., who I think is being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, says, draft Carnell Tate with our first-round pick, Jeremiyah Love with the Green Bay pick. I think you actually have to probably flip those, by the way. I think Love is not going to make it to that pick. Defense can give up 30, but we will average 50. Team 40 burger. So, sign 3 is in sign George Pickens, by the way, was the first note there, which it's funny. I like it. Defense needs help. Depending on where you're drafting, we'll see if there's a good player there. From Toxic Tom, why not trade the 2 firsts? Go get a proven NFL player. F them picks. Let's really go for it. I guess you can't trade that Packers pick right now, actually, because there are conditions attached to it right now with the poison pill stuff that Adam Schefter mentioned. So you can't trade it, A, because of that, B, because the Cowboys also have conditions on their other first-round pick. So with the Quinnen trade, so you kind of can't move your ones right now. But these 2 ones you've got up right now, you could flip those. The Cowboys were very praiseworthy, almost out of their way to praise Max Crosby. Did anyone else notice that? I noticed it. Hey, maybe something happens. I don't think that's going to happen, but that I did spot that. Granted, he's an awesome player, and sometimes you just say the awesome player is awesome, but I did spot that. We've got free videos for you right here on the Cowboys Report. We are free. We always will be. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Steven, even though it looked better, I'm still worried about the secondary. Thoughts? I think this is perfectly reasonable, actually. Yeah, they were better. Kalen Carson, Deron Bland had one of his better games of the year. Kalen Carson, Savone Revel, all looked pretty solid. Reddy Stewart was fine in the nickel. The Raiders have a really bad offense. Again, you broke up some passes. You did a good job. But, Trey Tucker had 4 catches for 47 yards and the 1 touchdown. Lockett was 3 for 33. Jack Best from 1 for 19. And Deontay Thornton ran a bunch of cardio. They don't have real receivers right now. That's why Brock Bowers got 12 targets. And Michael Mayer got 4, and Ian Thomas got 1. They don't have the personnel. Real G, I'd kill for Gilmore. Yeah, he's old. However, he'd be a staple with the youth in the locker room, and he's still not terrible. I do find it weird that no one picked up Stephon Gilmore. At this point, it's late November. Kind of feel like no one's going to end up picking him up at this stage.